Okay, good morning, afternoon, night, whatever you're watching this, boys and girls. We're going to go through the presidency of our third president, Thomas Jefferson. Okay. The election of 1800 with Thomas Jefferson is often referred to as the Revolution of 1800. Now, when you normally think of revolution, you think of heads rolling and this complete overturn of society. Well, this obviously did not happen. The election is between John Adams, okay, who was our second president, with the Federalists, who are going to start to fade away. Adams will be our last Federalist president. On the Democratic-Republican side, you have Thomas Jefferson and his vice president, Aaron Burr, from New York. Okay, so the way this is set up, the election is pretty nasty. It's kind of your first, you see these ads, Romney hates children and Obama will take away your food or whatever it is, okay, and they're nasty. The election of 1800 is kind of the first nasty election, okay. Very slanted in the press, calling Jefferson an atheist, radical, Francophile versus the bald and crusty and, this elitist Adams from New England. The taxes are a big issue, the tariffs, which were set forth by Hamilton as a way to protect the New England industries, which again, people in the South, the more agrarian South, don't agree with. Also, the Alien and Sedition Acts, which we looked at yesterday, as far as can't talk bad about the president, makes it very hard to become a citizen, very easy to be deported, and oddly enough, these were set to expire in 1801. Why do you think that is? There's an election in 1800. Okay. Election results are confusing. Burr and Jefferson end up winning, and then they have to decide who is going to be the president, because they don't have the 12th Amendment yet. So when they vote, they actually got to vote for one president and one vice president. It's confusing. It goes to the House of Representatives. They have 30-some votes where it keeps coming up tie, keeps coming up tie, keeps coming up tie. And then there's some backroom deals with Alexander Hamilton and some prominent Federalists. They're going to make Thomas Jefferson the president. Okay, keep that in mind. Aaron Burr kind of getting screwed over by Alexander Hamilton because that will come back later. Okay, they see the need for a new electoral college system, the 12th Amendment. So now when you vote, or the electors vote, they vote for the president. You get both the votes, so you're not splitting. Okay, so like today, you can't vote for Obama and Paul Ryan. Okay, because that just is silly. Okay, you can't vote for Romney and Joe Biden. Okay, 12th Amendment takes care of that. All right, so the electoral votes, you could see New England and in the North Atlantic still very heavily for the Federalists, while the South and the West are starting to lean Democratic Republican. Remember, more farmers, this yeoman farmer, and this is where this is heavily populated. Okay. Now, Jefferson, you can see him here wrangling with the devil. Okay. The federal government, George Washington and John Adams, and you could see him and the devil trying to take this down. Okay. A lot of our presidents are very religious, or at least have a set religion. Jefferson is a deist, kind of non-religious, just believes that God created the world and then let it go. Okay. One of the big quotes, all right, if you see here, from Jefferson's inauguration, we are all Republicans, we are all Federalists. Okay. This is the same speech given by just about every president. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, we're all Americans. Okay. Get rid of the partisanship, which you read about in Washington's farewell address, which is still tearing our country apart today. All right. So keep this in mind, what this means. We'll talk more about this in class. Okay. Now, Jefferson as a president, all right, remember, He's Democratic Republican. He doesn't like the big federal bureaucracy. The less government, the better, is his idea. Okay, this idea that the Federalists were only out for the wealthy, they only helped the merchant class and the commerce and the people that had the money, where the Democratic Republicans are for the small man. Sound familiar? If you pay attention to modern politics, this should sound familiar. Okay. This idea that if you're elected, you are the trustee of the people. You are for the people and only for the people, not for yourself. Okay. This agrarian society, agrarian, say it 3 times. Okay, agrarian, agriculture-based society. Westward expansion, which we'll look at with the Louisiana Purchase, which will open up more farmland, more agriculture. Okay, this idea here that America is for the oppressed, it's for the people that are put down, mostly in Europe, which you get rid of the alien laws. He makes it very easy to become an American citizen. This naturalization law, naturalization is just the process to become a citizen. Okay, and this idea of laissez-faire, say it, laissez-faire. Okay. Approach, let go. Okay, the government should not be all up in businesses' business. Okay, let the government do what they do. Let businesses do what they do. None of this. Okay. Again, if you pay attention to modern politics, you'll probably see these issues coming up. Okay. Now, the first issue. Okay. Jefferson faces. I mean, literally, as soon as he becomes president. Okay. What happens is right before Adams leaves office, literally the night before, okay, he appoints a bunch of new judges, okay, to different appellate positions, federal judges, because remember, judges serve for life, so even though you're not president anymore, your judges are still there kind of doing what you would have done. He puts in these very strong Federalist judges, okay? So they're called midnight judges, all right? I mean, it's this thing that, Adams is in the office and he's, furiously signing all these papers to get these in before he becomes, the ex-president, all right? He does this on March 3rd. Jefferson becomes president on March 4th, okay? Now, this is very, 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 very important. It'll be on probably many tests, okay? Without getting into all of the details, one of these guys is a guy by the name of William Marbury, okay? He gets appointed to one of these positions, and the new Secretary of State, James Madison, who is a Democratic Republican, Marbury is a Federalist, Madison refuses to appoint him, okay? Now, Marbury thinks that this has to be done, and he ends up taking him to court in the most famous Supreme Court case probably ever, Marbury versus Madison. Okay. Now, we could talk a little bit more about the logistics of the case. The Supreme Court, and John Marshall, who is a Federalist, okay, rules that the Supreme Court doesn't have the power to force these positions to be appointed. Okay. That power was granted in this Judiciary Act, okay, of 1801. So essentially what he is saying is that laws passed by Congress were unconstitutional. The Supreme Court had never done this before, all right? What this process is called judicial review. Judicial review. Supreme Court can say whether laws are constitutional or unconstitutional. This gives the federal government, the Supreme Court, so much power. I mean, complete, overhaul of the system by this one case, Marbury versus Madison, judicial review. Okay. We'll watch the Got Milk commercial tomorrow. Okay. Now, Alexander Hamilton, the wonderful genius financier of the American Republic, his life is cut short, okay, by the Vice President of the United States, Aaron Burr. Okay, Hamilton is talking smack to Burr, writing about him in the papers. There's some issues with Burr's father-in-law in New York for a Senate seat, and what happens is Burr calls him out and challenges him to a duel. Like I said, real men settle their issues with duels. Okay, they can't do it in his state of New York, so they go across the river to New Jersey, where dueling is legal, and they both have a gun and they fire at each other, and he's killed. Okay, Alexander Hamilton is shot in his, by his ribs. Okay, and he's dead. Okay, I mean, this is just kind of crazy. You can't make this stuff up. All right, we'll watch the ESPN version of the duel tomorrow. Okay, now Jefferson's legacy. Okay, he wants westward expansion, but he also wants small government. Well, this comes into conflict, and they talk about there's two Jeffersons. Okay, the Jefferson that he claims to be and the Jefferson that really he has to be. What happens is that he sends some delegates over to France to buy the port of New Orleans. Okay, this is a very important port. You can see the Mississippi River comes down there, and he says, okay, buy it for $10 million from the French. Okay, here's a blank check, $10 million. Well, with some issues in Haiti, there was a slave revolt. France is out of Haiti. France no longer needs the port of New Orleans. They want to be in good standing with the Americans. They need some money because they're in this war with England. They sell it for $15 million. Okay, not just the port of New Orleans, the Louisiana Territory. Okay, so you can see what happens. 3 cents an acre. All right, we double the size of the United States. Okay, now again, Jefferson, we want small government, we want small federal government, and boom, he just doubles the size of the United States. Okay, so you'll see this a lot with presidents, especially. They promise one thing during the campaign, and then when reality sets in, they have to do what they have to do. Okay. Now, with this, we have the famous Lewis and Clark expedition to explore this land. We have all this land. I mean, it's uncharted. I mean, obviously there's Indian tribes there, but Americans have never set foot on a lot of this land. Okay. Now, this core of discovery, they're trying to find an all-water route to the Northwest Passage to get from the Atlantic to the Pacific. All right. This is what Henry Hudson was looking for. A lot of these early explorers. Now, you could see their route, okay, whether it's on land, whether they're taking rivers. A lot of it is rivers, okay, exploring. This is probably the biggest scientific expedition in maybe world history, okay. There's some stuff with space, but as far as the amount of new species and new routes and new animals and all of these things that they found on this expedition, it's really mind-blowing, okay. Now, Sacagawea, okay, the interpreter, as far as her role, is, what happens is she is going to be this guide to guide this group of men along this route and be the interpreter between the white Americans and the Indians that they encounter. Now, a lot of this is pretty interesting because considering she was pregnant when she started the expedition, okay? 7-8 months pregnant. She has the baby, Jean-Baptiste, which you can see she has on here. It's kind of like the original baby backpack, like Hangover, and they have little Carlos sitting in front. She made this trek with a baby on her back. Okay, you see people that are like, oh, I can't do anything because I have a kid. Yeah, Sacagawea was canoeing, down the Colorado River, with a baby on her back. Okay, now what did this accomplish? Okay, they're trying to find this Northwest Passage. They do get to the Pacific Ocean. They map out, even though it's not very accurate because we have GPS and global positioning and all this Google Earth, but it's pretty good for the time, is what people thought, how big the continent was, because we didn't really know how much we were buying from the French. Come to find, we just doubled the size of the United States. Now, we have potential now, and you start to see this idea of manifest destiny. It'll come up time and time again. It is the American destiny to explore, to progress, to push west. Okay, this will come in.